Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. I make a considerable effort to go through the comments section on each video, so if you have any particular movie you want me to cover next, don't hesitate to let me know below. As requested, today we'll be diving into the alien invasion thriller, No One Will Save You. A tense and nerve-wracking movie, which impressively only has like 6 lines of dialogue throughout. Overwhelmed with guilt and surrounded by nothing but sadness, Brinn, a friendless dressmaker, spends her days alone, finding peace in her rigid daily routine. But her life is flipped upside down one night by a home invasion. It's not your typical break-in, but an alien encounter that forces her to rely on her wits and ingenuity to survive an invasion of cosmic proportions. And in this video, we're going to explore the story, the characters, the alien force, and the meaning of the head-scratching ending. Living in her secluded family cabin in the woods, our protagonist Brinn leads a life of solitude. Her home and existence in general, however, seems to bring her discomfort. The young woman seems to be uncomfortable in her own skin, with her unsuccessfully attempting to practice smiling in the mirror before abandoning the effort. Descending the stairs, she admires her intricate miniature city display, a replica of the town she inhabits. Stepping outdoors with a resigned sigh, she then notices an unusual circular patch of bare ground. Without much thought, she waters the spot with a hose, but there's something far more sinister at work here that we're about to discover. Entering her car, she mentally prepares herself before driving off, alluding to the notion that going anywhere is a massive effort for her. It all starts to make sense when she waves at a man who pointedly ignores her, turning away indifferently. And it's not just him. The entire town are equally unfriendly, with Brinn resorting to concealing her face while passing by them. It's unclear why at first, but the town has effectively ostracized the young woman for some reason. After sending off a dress to one of her customers in the mail, she visits the grave of her mother, who appears to have passed away recently. Yet when she spots a group of people at the cemetery and waves at them, they all whisper among themselves and continue to ignore her. Seeing an older couple she recognized enjoying a moment together, she hides behind her car. The sight of them visibly disturbs Brinn, and she struggles to contain her emotions, indicating they might be at the heart of her woes. Returning to her lakeside home, she pens a letter to her friend Maud, mentioning she saw her parents, likely the couple she was observing. When a mail truck arrives, she excitedly anticipates a delivery, only to watch the driver throw her package like a basketball, in yet another example of someone treating her poorly. With no one to join her, we find the woman laying out foot patterns to practice dancing to a nostalgic song, likely one that her mother loved. Upon opening the package, Brinn discovers another miniature building, which he carefully integrates into her elaborate miniature town. In her continued correspondence with Maud, she reflects on the monotony of her days, expressing disbelief that it's already been a decade since she saw her. Her isolation is further highlighted when she abruptly hangs up on a phone call, receiving only insults from the caller, underscoring the unresolved issue from her past for which the townspeople have not forgiven her. In the conclusion to her letter to Maud, she expresses regret, wishing she could try something she's made and doubting her ability to forgive herself. Settling into bed, she eventually falls asleep. However, the night brings eerie occurrences. A low droning sound is heard as the viewpoint shifts throughout the house, and suddenly, all the lights switch on, accompanied by the record she was dancing to earlier. Brinn remains asleep, unaware of the activity, until the light abruptly turns off and she's awakened by a loud noise and spots something rummaging through her trash cans. When she goes to investigate, she finds the light switch unresponsive, and when she descends the stairs, Brinn discovers the front door wide open, despite the door still being locked from the inside. Unsurprisingly, she's startled when she hears footsteps and the sound of a creature in her home, making clicking sounds and other strange noises. She attempts to remain silent and unnoticed, but accidentally steps on a creaky floorboard, attracting the creature up the stairs. In a panic, she retreats to her bedroom, but in her haste, she makes more noise, prompting it to burst in just as Brinn jumped on the other side of the bed. She quickly hides under the mattress, while the creature, curiously sniffing around, climbs on top of the bed, with its finger-like feet and their digits moving independently. It's here that the creature emits a loud bellow, possibly a call to others, before hastily exiting through the window. Brinn then promptly locks the window and takes a moment to regain her composure after the harrowing encounter. Trying to gain control over the situation, she cautiously searches her house after hearing thuds from above, suspecting the creature is on the roof. When she decides to escape, She hears its footsteps closing in rapidly, but manages to shut and lock the door in time. The alien responds by tampering with the electricity, and the overwhelmed Brinn unplugs the TV and forcefully shuts the record player. She notices her miniature village blinking erratically and unplugs it too, eliciting an annoyed growl from the creature. As she attempts to make a phone call, a loud tone interrupts and the doors begin to close and open on their own. She then witnesses the creature descending the stairs and quickly finds a hiding place. Much to her surprise, it approaches the phone and hangs it up. Brinn sees its reflection, and the creature also notices her, flinging the door and trapping her behind it. With its unique finger-like feet visible, it extends its long fingers over the door, causing Brinn to panic. As it begins to peer over, revealing its face, she pushes the door back, striking the alien and provoking its anger. This triggers a telekinetic frenzy, with objects flying chaotically around her. The front door is then torn from its hinges and hits her in the face. Now in pain, she crawls away from the chaos, but the alien reactivates the lights and hurls the table across the room, severely damaging Brinn's miniature village before pulling Brinn up to face it. In a desperate move, she strikes it in the head with a piece of the miniature building, causing it to collapse and die. Utterly stunned by her actions, she remains motionless and in shock until the next morning, still struggling to process the surreal event. Carefully verifying it was dead, she then covers the body with a blanket. When she attempts to use the phone once again, she finds the line completely dead. Not only that, but the alien's attack has rendered all nearby electricity, including the battery to her Subaru, utterly useless. Blocking the door with a catch for some measure of security, Brinn sets off on her bike looking for help, only to come across a disturbing scene with the mail truck now overturned and no trace of the driver to be found. While Brinn remains unaware, the camera pans above to reveal an increasing number of circular patterns in the grass, indicating the presence of many more aliens. However, the town remains unaffected, with residents continuing their daily routines. While she finally reaches the police station, she encounters Maud's parents. The atmosphere is thick with tension, and before she can utter a word, the mother spits in her face, clearly holding Brinn responsible for whatever happened to her daughter. Struggling to contain her emotions, Brinn begins to break down in front of a mural of her friend, indicating the entire town was still grieving. It's here that a glimmer of hope appears in the form of a bus, presenting an opportunity for her to leave town. However, as the journey progresses, the presence of more circular patterns from above hint at a much larger invasion. This quickly becomes evident when the mailman on the bus grabs Brinn and begins to make odd noises. She pushes him away, and he aggressively moves across the seats to reach her. Another passenger also behaves strangely, prompting the bus driver to slam on the brakes. As we hear screams inside, Brinn hastily exits the bus, followed by the mailman. Running to a private property, she hears a nearby creature that produces a humming sound, eerily reminiscent of the song that she was dancing to earlier. Seeking refuge in a local church, she's disappointed to find the doors locked and then heads to a nearby graveyard to visit the memorial of her late friend Maud. Suddenly, the wind intensifies and ominous storm clouds rapidly gather, covering the sky despite her attempt to outrun them. When she makes her way to another residence, she also encounters a group of people standing together, arms outstretched towards the clouds. Observing a creature moving in their throat, she begins to realize this is what turned them into zombie-like beings, seemingly under the control of an alien hive mind. As Brinn is spotted, the group unnervingly turn to face her in unison, prompting her to flee, and during her escape, she glimpses the outline of a saucer-like ship concealed in the sky. Finally making it back home, she checks on a deceased alien, which is now emanating a repugnant odor. Interestingly, Brinn notices a slime-like trail from its mouth, but is unable to locate where it went. The storm intensifies, converging directly over her location, and in response to the escalating situation, Brinn steadies herself, showing a newfound resolve to confront the aliens. She begins to fortify her house by locking the shutters and preparing pots of boiling water, readying herself for a fight. But as she drew the curtains, a blinding white light begins to glow outside, moving past her. Coming down the stairs, she witnesses the nails of her barrier being removed one after the other. The barrier then ruptures open. With the couch held aside, a force levitates the body of the dead alien, carrying it out the front door. The major beam of light is then replaced by an orange searchlight, which forces her to narrowly escape to the basement, only to be followed by another alien that leaps down after her. The creature pauses near Brinn's initial hiding place, and seizing the opportunity, she quietly moves to another spot, arming herself with scissors. As the alien continues its search, she hides under a table, distracting her by knocking something over. The alien, now directly in front of her, uses telekinesis to effortlessly disarm her. As it stands, its bones cracking, it notices Brinn holding a photo of herself and Maud. Curious by this, it attempts to take the photo, and while Brinn resists, it ultimately succeeds, examining the picture with a perplexed expression, as if trying to comprehend its significance. Seizing the moment of distraction, Brinn begins to run upstairs, where she encounters a different alien with longer arms and shorter legs. When it tackles her, she fiercely bites into its arm, causing it to recoil as Brinn reaches the boiling pots and hurls them towards it. But when she goes to finish it off, the intense light immobilizes the pot against the wall, causing her to cautiously retreat to another room. Displaying its agility, the creature leaps onto the wall and violently rips the door apart, and while Brinn attempts to escape through the window, the alien drags her back in. She fends it off momentarily with a broom, which the alien snaps in anger, and in the ensuing fight, Brinn manages to stab it with the broom's sharpened handle, before slamming a door in its face. As she runs outside, glowing eyes appear over the roof, emitting a weird melody. A new alien type with long, spider-like arms then emerges, chasing her into the woods. There she encounters the infected delivery man, who drags her towards it. As she struggles to get free, a silver disc appears on the horizon, much to the satisfaction of the alien, which begins to gesture to the ship. The disc then hovers overhead, activating a tractor beam, but before she's caught, she pushes the man into it. With only half his body in the beam, his back is broken, and the ship rejects him, before disassembling into smaller parts and leaving. In a clumsy attempt to climb down her house, the long-limbed alien slips. Enraged, it then begins to hunt her down. While she tries to find refuge in her car, the alien barges in. Luckily, with one of its limbs caught in the floorboards, Brinn uses a lighter to ignite the gas, setting the alien on fire. This action attracts a large beam from above that circles the car and chases her back into the home. Unfortunately, the curious alien from the basement continues to trail Brinn, peering through a crack in the door of her room with its large eyes. It scans the cluttered space, observing several letters Brinn had written to Maud and numerous photos of the two girls, trying to understand their significance. When she attempts to ambush it, the creature instinctively throws her through the wall and contorts its body to face her. Brinn is then caught by the beam, which both immobilizes and pins her to the ceiling as the alien approached. Suddenly, its eyes roll back and it regurgitates a mass of tentacles that slither inside her mouth. But when Brinn wakes up screaming in bed the next morning, she begins to question whether the events were real. With her house, including the miniature village, appearing intact, she begins to laugh it off as a bad dream. However, the sense of normalcy is disrupted when she hears someone outside calling for Maud. A blurry figure resembling Maud appears, driving Brinn to tears and apologies, yet the scene becomes unstable and distorted. In response, Brinn manages to pull the tentacle creature from her throat, returning her to reality. This reveals the creature's mechanism. It attaches to the brain, accessing the memories of its host to create a false reality based on their desires, effectively leaving them zombified and under alien control. It's implied that the grey aliens were also under the same influence, with their civilization under its control. A resonant vibration envelops the area as the ship returns to Brinn's location. Activating its beam, it retrieves the tentacle creature, simultaneously casting a shadow that morphs into a replica of Brinn. The duplicate, with the creature crawling in its mouth, stands motionless, allowing Brinn the opportunity to run away. However, escape is futile, with the sky filled with many more ships, signifying a large-scale hostile invasion. In a startling encounter, Brinn comes face to face with her doppelganger. The lookalike then stabs her, leading to a struggle where Brinn retaliates with a box cutter, fatally wounding it. As the doppelganger falls, Brinn cradles it, overwhelmed by emotions. Unfortunately, continuing through the foggy woods, she encounters a larger alien that prompts a beam to appear and whisk her aboard the spacecraft. Now inside a vast dark chamber of the ship, Brinn remains trapped in a beam while surrounded by aliens. Bizarrely, instead of harming her, they extend their long fingers and tap her forehead, intent on exploring a specific memory in her mind. Suddenly, Brinn finds herself in a void, then back in her house, observing her younger self and mother building a miniature house, a reminder of happier times. The light beam freezes the moment and Brinn follows a young Maud outside, where the scene shifts to red and blue lights, with frozen police officers, including Maud's distraught father. Brinn then relives a pivotal moment with her friend. The two girls were essentially in a heated argument in the woods, with Maud pushing Brinn to the ground. In response, the young Brinn then reached for a rock and struck her friend in the head, causing her death. This tragic incident is why Brinn was shunned by the entire town. The woman is then confronted with her younger self in the void, writing a letter to Maud. This ritual, which he maintained over the years, served as a way to keep Maud's memory alive in her mind. We see Brinn reach out to her younger self, and their eyes lock in a meaningful exchange. Amidst a poignant moment, a sense of relief washes over her face. Watching from the sidelines, the aliens witness the emotional exchange and Brinn is brought back to the ship's main chamber. Led by the inquisitive alien, the others engage in a discussion, debating Brinn's fate. And when they make up their mind, the ceiling responds with a rumble, and the beam begins to retract. Much to her shock, she's dropped back to Earth as lights of various colors play across her face. It's here that Brinn chuckles, having found some closure regarding her past, and in a stark contrast to her earlier struggle with happiness, she now displays a genuine smile. Riding her bike with a newfound sense of joy the following day, she notices the townspeople, still under alien influence, return her way for the first time. We then cut to a local event where she confidently showcases her dance skills, playfully interacting with the other people and moving gracefully towards the camera with a smile. Yet despite her personal breakthrough, the ominous presence of the ships in the sky indicates the alien invasion is a looming reality, suggesting their mission had been successfully accomplished.
I'm sorry.
The narrative reveals that when the aliens attempted to submerge Brinn in a blissful memory, they were confused by her overwhelming grief. Brinn's isolation meant her only joyful memories were from before Maud's death. However, her acute awareness of her loss made her recognize the falseness of these memories, rendering the illusion ineffective. During her abduction, the aliens delved into her memories, seeking to understand why Brinn resisted the mental manipulation that subdued the others. This process inadvertently allowed her to confront and ultimately process the grief for the first time. Post-abduction, she found a sense of happiness in the altered reality after the alien invasion. The aliens discern that she's more content in this new world order, rather than fighting to return to a past that brought her immense sadness. They effectively serve as a metaphor for Brinn's enduring grief and guilt over Maud's death. This grief had invaded and dismantled her entire life, symbolized by the home invasion. The bus scene signified her inability to escape this pervasive sadness, while the scene at the police station reflects the community's unwillingness to support her, given their disdain. The town's negative perception of her is echoed in the infected people, representing the harsh judgments and criticism she faced on a daily basis. For me, the doppelganger episode symbolized Brinn's thoughts about self-harm, born from her intense emotional pain. The abduction and forced confrontation with her past brought her face to face with the incident, compelling her to address her feelings directly, and ultimately, Brinn achieves a form of self-forgiveness, as depicted by the interaction with her younger self. While she manages to move forward, the lingering UFOs in the final scene suggest that the grief and guilt remain, just as the townspeople, still under alien influence, might never absolve her. Nonetheless, Brinn found a world where she could find a semblance of happiness. Ironically, while she was treated like an alien since she was 10 years old, in a weird reversal, she's now finally treated like a human by aliens.
I'm sorry, Maud.
With that said, that's all for today, folks. A huge thanks to everyone that requested we cover No One Will Save You. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and if there's anything else you'd like for me to cover, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.